Hey everyone, it's Maydad here from YNV Health and Wellness. And tonight, like every other Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Time, I'm joined with a special guest. Now, before I introduce you to this great guest of mine, who I've known for almost 45 years, or ever since I arrived here and migrated here with my family from the Middle East, I wanted to share with you about a good book that I've just picked up and started reading. As you know, I love the study of behavioral science, and it's part of something that I've really enjoyed delving into. And this book that I've got is about the comprehensive guide of hypnosis, and it was written by Ted James, the founder of NLP, the neural transformation and neural linguistic programming genius. And this book, I'm into the 20 pages, and it really is interesting, delving into different parts of using hypnosis from timeline therapy and so much more. But what I found so fascinating about it and what I'm finding really interesting is the fact that it talks about your internal dialogue and how you entertain that dialogue. But getting back into tonight's guest, a special guest, his name is Carlos de Rocha. Welcome to tonight's Zoom session, Carlos. It's great having you here.
Thanks for having me, Maydad. It's a pleasure and an honor to be on your page. And
Oh, awesome, Carlos. We've known each other, as I said, 45 years, such a long time. Ever since we migrated here to Australia, you played soccer with my brother, my older brother, Avi, and you knew me and my twin brother, Eldad. And we've just known each other ever since in the eastern suburbs area, in the Bondi area. And you've done some amazing work, which I'd love to talk to about tonight. And for those of you watching this topic tonight we're going to be talking about with Carlos is the developing healthier, better communities. And Carlos, if I could just start by asking you, can you tell us a little bit about your background and your journey? Where you went to school, how you guys, came about to living in Bondi and in the eastern suburbs, and what you've been doing in your journey before you
sure,
started working for the council.
sure. I came to Australia in 1972. My auntie came to Portugal, and we lived sort of a pretty hard life, and but we lived a life that I think everyone adapts to where they are and the way they live at the time. But my auntie, sort of in a way felt sorry for us, and she sort of saw what she saw her sister, and the struggles that we lived where, here in Australia, she just, what she thought was the norm to us was, nothing like what they had. So she asked us and sponsored us to come to Australia. So we did that in 1972. We came to this great country, and it was like Wonderland made it, like we sort of came from really sort of, hardship type place, and came here and, I went to Wallara Demonstration School, which is just up, sort of up the road from, Bondi Junction. And then we went to Bondi, so Christian Brothers Bondi, where I started, my high school. It was a challenge sort of getting to that because, being a kid from overseas, not knowing how to speak properly or whatever. I started school, I think it was in close to fourth class. So by the time I got to first form, I was still basically learning. And I was
English.
pretty everyone's toy. But, they say life experiences, if you embrace it and learn from them, you can mold the person that you become. So, being an ethnic, coming from where I did, not, understanding how, like the pleasures that we had when we came here, of life, we couldn't even dream of back in Portugal. And so at school, it was a mixed bag at Christian Brothers. I tried to find my way. I repeated in first form. But I think, in some cases, where you go backwards a little bit can really take you forward a lot. When I repeated, I went from basically being the kid that used to sort of get slapped around, get sort of hassled, get called whatever names, to, coming home one day and having parents that couldn't, that can't read and write, to say, stand up for yourself. And it was very strange, because going from the kid that used to get picked on to then all of a sudden, standing up for myself. It was like I took on the bullies, and then, when I did that, I had this unbelievable principal at the school called Brother Martins that, he saw what happened. He saw what led up to it, which I won't go into it, that much. But he says, okay, now you're not going to get bullied, but now you got the chance to bully or to protect the people that are being bullied. And mate, Ed, what happened from then on, I quickly turned my life around. I became so popular in that at school that, you know, I listened to what Brother Martin said. I came home and I used to look at my parents and think, I'm not that kid anymore. How am I going to sort of change myself? And I think it was the best thing that I ever did, because that molded my life and my future to what it is today. That popularity, I was able to protect people at school. I was able to protect people outside of school. But at that time too, I thought I was invincible, because I wasn't scared of anybody. Unlike you, where you're a disciplined boxer, I had anger, resentment, and what people call these days, or even back then, discipline. Well, my parents, like, coming from, the circumstance that they did, we copped it sort of hard, growing up, like it sort of wasn't easy. But that, anyway, back to the high school, that popularity sort of molded who I was. I sort of took myself and go, where am I going to go with this? I had tried an apprenticeship, sort of didn't work. But then I got involved with communities. It was so strange. From an early age, I started to, get embraced, and I started to be reached out by many people that, oh, look, my son struggles at school. I've heard about, you. Is there any chance you can talk to my son or my daughter or whatever? And it was so weird, because I was only about, I think, 19 when I spoke to this parent, and, like, one of their kids, like, they struggled to learn. They thought that they had ADHD or whatever. And I spoke to this kid, and he reminded me so much of me. And then I started asking the parents, what was it that they thought, was making their child, their son, go off the rails a little bit. And they said that, at school and even with tutoring, that they just couldn't comprehend. And I went, oh wow, that seems very familiar to me. And one thing that I picked up at an early time in my life was that I was never good at books, mate, Dad, right? But I'm a very, very interested learner by way of people skills, right? With me, if I watch a movie, or if I talk to somebody, or if I watch somebody do something, right? To me, that is reading a book, right? To me, that is, a different learning style. If I see, a picture, then, and there was a guy called John Gilbert who used to run Ways, right? He turned around one day and he goes, Carlos, I've known you for quite a while. And, you've said to me that, at times that, you're dumb, right? He goes, mate, I wish that, so many more people had the skills that you do, to be able to reach out and make people believe that, they're not dumb, they're not stupid. They just got to find their way to learn. And from there, it took me to, like, I sent you a whole heap of information. From there, when I think it was around 25, I got heavily involved in communities, especially around Bondi, Bondi Junction. My haunts was from, Bondi to La Perouse. It's the furthest I've ever been. I get lost going in there over the other side of Anzac Parade. I really went on the path where, you know, I thank God, right, for the path that He has taken me on, because I felt like in life I've been, like, I don't say that anyone is, somebody, like, I've never classified myself as a leader, but I've always found that I've been that guy that people can reach out to, no matter what level you're on with education or success in jobs or whatever. So I think what happened from that path on, and being involved with communities, I started to, to receive all these accolades for things that I thought, hang on, this isn't just me. This is one person becoming 10, becoming 100, becoming 1,000, becoming tens of thousands. Do you know what I mean? And I think that what happened from then on for a guy that sort of struggled in life. I mean, I had these opportunities that just kept coming my way, but there was always somebody trying to take it off me, and I always say there are people who do the work and there are people who try and take credit for the work, right?
Can I ask you, Carlos, how was it like in the 80s growing up in the eastern suburbs in Bondi?
Oh my God, it was unreal. Like, sorry, when I say that, as hard as it was, like we had everything, and we had everything. We called it organized chaos. We had, you know, there was late 80s, early 90s, the amount of nightclubs, the amount of activities that you could do, say for example, just around Bondi Junction, you know, you
Yes.
didn't have to go far. Like between Bondi Junction, Coogee, and just Paddington, life was great. And when I say that, we experienced everything in life, good and bad. But the things back then weren't like it is today, Maydad. Like back then, you had an issue with somebody or they had an issue with you. There would be mates on either side, but you'd fight or do whatever you had to do, and then it was over. Like there was no stabbing, shootings. When I say that, like not like it is today.
It was within that perimeter of like eastern suburbs, like you say, Coogee, Bondi, Bronte, Maroubra, up to Paddington, Darlinghurst, and that we had so much we could do, so many nightclubs, so many places, so many outlets. You know, going back to what you said about having it hard and coming here from a different country. I know when we migrated over here, dad and mum couldn't speak any English. We were sleeping five people to a bed, three at the top and two at the feet. And mum and dad couldn't get a job. And we had to go out and collect aluminium cans, wash cars, cut grasses, and help people move or do whatever that we needed to do. But, Carlos, you are right. The 80s were really special. And what I found really special about them myself was just the community that was everybody was so invested in building a community, whether it is we played rugby or whether we played soccer. And that's how I met you, Carlos. I mean, like experiencing all that, can you let us, some of our viewers, know what got you into working to Waverley Council?
Yeah, it was a strange one. Like, I always wanted to work on council, and I started off with an apprenticeship, but like I just love the feeling of working together in an environment where there was a lot of culture. There was a lot of it. It was funny because council to me was one of the lowest paid jobs even back then, but I had it. I had opportunities that were just off the charts, and I went to CES. It's called Centrelink now or whatever. Back then, I said, "Look, I want to work for council," and I hear that this is where the jobs sort of come about because unless you were an uncle, cousin, brother, or whatever, it was very difficult to get in.
Yes.
So I went there and they said, "Are you working?" And I went, "Yeah." "Oh, sorry, we can't help you." And I went, "Okay, I'll quit my job." Right? And they're going, "What do you mean?" I said, "Hang on." I said, "I'll quit my job." So no, you can't. So anyway, I had to quit my job to then just get in an opportunity to get on the council, right? So I went to work the next day. I said to my boss, I quit. I went back to CES, it was Centrelink or whatever it was called, right back then. And I said, I want to work for the council. And it turned out that they had this 9-month program for people that were unemployed. So, I went and I sort of got myself in there. And there was 5 positions available. Like one was a labourer, one was the supervisors, and one was, a truck driver. And I didn't know what the positions were. So they said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to be a labourer." So anyway, I could drive trucks even then, right? And then instead of giving myself an opportunity straight away,
Yeah.
said, "Oh yeah, I'll be a labourer." It's okay, you're a labourer. And then I just listened to this other guy, "You're a driver." And then I'm going, "Oh my God, what did I just do here?" Anyway, we got on, and then within a month we were working on the council, and I was the happiest I've ever been. And when I started, like I thought, money was bad, but so many new friends, like Italians, Portuguese, Maltese, Russians, you name it, right? And they took me under their wings straight away. Like there was so many people there that even council didn't know that they couldn't read and write, and for me, because like I still remember we had the pay trucks that used to come onto the street and give you your pay at the end of the week. And sort of when that sort of changed a little bit into it, I was filling out people's, withdrawal things for the bank. But what happened, it just became a job where within 3 months of me starting off on this government program thing, one of the supervisors for the council, he saw my ability and he goes, "Why did you ask to be a labourer?" And I said, "Because that's what I thought that was there." And he goes, "No, well, now you're a supervisor." Anyway, going just back within a year or two, quickly they put me through, heavy vehicles, training. And then I started operating backhoes, front end loaders, excavators, and driving trucks. And I did that for about 11, 12 years. And, I was happy as I felt like I was in my environment. It was never about money, and then I thought there must be a way that I can, or a position that I can try and get into that in one hand I engage with communities, but then in the other hand I do something good, right? And a position came up as a ranger back then, right? And when the position came up, I thought about it and I'm going, hang on, my mates are going to think, look, Carlos is like a cop now, like what's he doing? You know what I mean? Like and it's not like we're social police, but when you define a ranger, for the work that we do, we deal with rubbish, we deal with dogs, we deal with, the environment, we deal with neighborhood disputes, public order and safety. So we do everything basically that's not criminal. And once I sort of did that, for the first year or two, it was sort of really, really difficult because I had to, in one hand, my mates couldn't see me doing a job like that. But in the other hand, I'd try and explain to them that, hey, I'm not here trying to overregulate society. I'm here to, if there's no rules, there's anarchy, right?
You've got to
And
have somebody, um, um, yeah, controlling things or, assisting and helping out and just making sure that everything is run properly.
but mate, I've done like I've saved people's lives, right? I've like there's been people that taken their own life, and I was the first respondent. Like whether it was somebody that took their life in the park, and I was there, and I didn't make it in time. I've saved somebody's life that was drowning, and here I am thinking I'm an Olympic swimmer, and I'm caught in a rip swimming to this guy, and then he nearly drowns me until the lifeguards come. I've climbed 10 meters down a cliff to save a dog that was stuck because all its legs were broken. Like I've did so many things that when somebody goes, when somebody gets upset with me or whatever because they've been fined or they've been hassled, I always provide a reason. I always provide, circumstances. Look, how many times do we bump into each other, right? How many times do I, explain to you, like when you ask me a question, yeah, my dog's friendly. My dog won't attack anyone. Well, these are the dogs that, unfortunately, because of another dog, get tangled up in a circumstance and then there's a dog attack, right? And when I try and get through to people, it's so sad when a dog is involved, for example, in an attack because it can be forced to live in a cage, right? And if we all love our animals as much, any animal like a human has the potential to lose its cool
Sure.
and then something bad happen, but yeah, my job as a ranger has been so fulfilling for me. Like it's so weird. Like if I take holidays or like especially when I had my mini stroke, for example, when I came back to work after 3 months, I was walking on a promenade at Bondi and Bronte, and because people hadn't seen me for so long, mate, I felt like I was a rock star. I had little
Yeah.
kids coming up hugging me. I had grandmas coming up and saying they miss me. I had, people that I've grown up that, they're now grandfathers, and their kids that were babies are now, adults, like it's it's such a special thing to see, people around the community of Bondi Junction, Dover Heights, or whatever, that they feel that, like, okay, well, we've always judged people because of their job. But with me, I don't see it as a judgment. Even when somebody's really angry and cranky at me, I give them my card. That's the first thing I ever do. And if the conversation's not going well, I say, look, you got me card. Right now is not the time. Give me a call later and we'll have a chat. And it's strange because they always do call back. And then, they'll apologize. I said, look, you got nothing to apologize for. I said, like we all, have these moments. I said, you know, for me, I said, I get paid, to try and do my job as best I can, and for that is I try not to take it personal, right? How everyone's feeling, but you always do. Do you know what I mean? Like when somebody's hurting, you hurt with them, and sometimes like you're always trying to find an outlet to to think how can I help this person. Even when I finish that job with them, I'm always looking ahead to go, okay, I'm going to revisit this person, in a few weeks. You know what I mean, and then see how they are.
And that's why, Carlos, everyone loves you for the work that you do, having known you for such a long time. And, this is probably the main reason why you've received so many accolades and so many, awards, and you've been in the paper and that so many times for the great work that you do. Can you share, in short, with our audience, some of the awards that you've received and some of the things that you've been, you've been commended for?
Yeah, I think I might get the dates wrong, but I think in 2011, the federal member, or it might have been 2015, the federal member for, Kingsford Smith, Matt Thistlethwaite, he presented me with a certificate for community service, servicing community service for what I do for the communities, for the work that I did being involved with local precincts for so long. And I took that as a real honor, even though that was a certificate. But like sometimes, you don't look for achievements, right? But every now and then, because it's a strange path being involved with communities, when everything's going well, you've got so much support. When things are going a bit pear-shaped and the powers that be, the people we elect, are not listening to us or councils, and people see that, hang on, we're not making any traction, people then pull away, right? But the leader can't pull away. The person that started fighting for the communities and for the people, even though you're alone for a period of time, you got to soldier on. So as time sort of progresses, then people come back on board because they see that, hang on, there's a lot of traction here. Carlos is now on his own, right? We need to pull back and support him. And then good things start to happen. So that certificate actually meant a lot to me for, my service to the community for so long. Because when you're serving the communities, you don't get paid, right? And you're not asking to get paid. It's all about soul searching and helping out and trying to make communities as best as you can. So then I think in 2015, I was nominated for the Sunday Telegraph Pride of Australia Award. Now
Yeah,
this
I remember seeing that in the paper, Carlos. That was really,
oh, it
that's
was a very
beautiful.
prestigious award at the time, and I never in my life thought that something like that would happen to me. I was invited to the government house out in the city, and I was presented by love him or hate him Barry O'Farrell with this 𝙬𝙭𝙮, amazing medal, and this amazing sort of plaque and huge certificate, that sort of I was just blown away. Here I am there. My family were busy; they couldn't come. I was standing in this place with all these politicians and everyone, like, and I'm presented with this unbelievable honor, and that was just like, wow, people like me, I used to say, don't deserve this. But at that moment, I went, people like me are actually the ones that make the world, listen, like,
Carlos, I'm going to interject for a second. I'm going to share with you, not because you're on this Zoom with me, but what I know and for how I know you. And I think as a community, and I'm talking on behalf of the locals that have lived here for a long time, who understand Eastern Suburbs, who understand Bondi Beach, who understand this area, understand the council and what's involved in keeping this place and the history of this place going, no one could not commend you enough for the work that you do and the relationships that you build off your back in creating the communities that we have. And yes, we are living in times right now where there are a lot of young people living here in Bondi. A lot of the old timers have moved out, but there's a few of us still here.
Yeah.
But someone like you cannot be commended enough for what you do. And Carlos, I wanted to ask you, in short, if you could just tell us what you really love about your job.
What I love about my job is how much council has and still allow me to do what I do best through my engagement with communities. Like there's a lot of times where policies, procedures, sort of pull you back, from going that step further, because you might go in too deep and then you start, affecting your own mindset. I think with council, they know my ability to engage with homeless. They know my ability to engage with rough sleepers. They know my ability to be patient, tolerant, and deal with any complaint, whether it's a neighborhood dispute or other that comes our way. My ability to, educate people on the effects that what we do in our lives can potentially harm our environment and how we can potentially, be carers of of Mother Earth instead of like, just neglect the things that, we turn a blind eye to. Like for example, litter. Litter sounds like not a big thing to discuss, but like people everywhere they go, whether they buy takeaway, whether they buy whatever, if there's 100 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people, mate, if we all just think, if we don't dispose these little items in the rubbish bins that are around, our environment, land and water, right? This flows into our drains, and when I used to go to schools and talk to kids and then they would go back and educate parents about, oh, mummy, did you know that our McDonald's wrapper or our bottle top ends up on the, in the drain and then goes down the gutter and then, ends up on the beach, like stuff like that, used to really, really, satisfy me so much knowing that through kids I could try and educate, parents, adults, and what have you. I think also with my Rangers job, the ability to communicate at all levels, I mean, for me, it's weird. My bosses and even the people I work with, they say, Carlos, you're always at the right place at the right time. I don't know about that. It was like, don't mean to bring it up, and I'm sorry. The Bondi Junction incident, right? That was such a horrible thing that occurred in Bondi Junction.
Very sad.
Happened to be outside my office on Spring Street, and what happened was I saw a stampede of people just running, right, running on Spring Street around cars, whatever. I didn't know what was happening. Then these three young ladies, one was a mother and two daughters. The one daughter was saying how she, like she saw what she saw, and the mother was, she was young too. She was crying. I'm trying to calm them down while all these other people, like things like that. Just, I always say that when I've been, in circumstances where I think, how did I get myself into this? I just happen to be in places sometimes where people need me, and for some reason I've become a magnet where, for stuff like that, or stuff that, where I see that somebody's, almost about to give up on life. Like I think my job is really, sometimes I'm like a social worker, sometimes I'm like a care worker, sometimes I'm like a teacher, but I think it's just the
You're so accommodating,
I'm
Carlos.
accommodating, but it's just unbelievable how, I can look back on my life, and if I died tomorrow, I think God would be proud of me no matter what. Do you know what I mean? Like,
For sure, Carlos. Carlos, you touched on a point a little earlier on with this conversation about sleepers and homeless people. Can you share with our audience the difference between a sleeper and a homeless person?
Yeah, well, a lot of them sort of won't talk about it, but most of them don't like to be to be labeled as, say for example, you got the rough sleeper, right? The rough sleeper, most rough sleepers have got accommodation, but they still choose to belong to an environment where they're not alone and they want to belong, feel like they're part of a pack or part of a group. And
Is that like sleeping in the park or something like that?
sorry.
Is that like sleeping in the park with some
Yeah,
mate?
they'll sleep in the park, they'll sleep in, behind the pavilion, they'll sleep in the shed, they'll sleep in the hut. But normally the rough sleepers usually hang around in packs, right? And unfortunately, in many cases, drugs, are a main part, and same as alcohol. Homeless people, oh my God, like they are the most incredible, humble, smart, lost, vulnerable people that, you come across. They just want to be left alone. They've had circumstance in their life, whether they've lost loved ones, whether through intense studying or whatever to try and reach their goals, that, their brain has reached a point that, like they've just lost it. And, whether that's been, you, you know, family illness, the loss of loved ones, like bad luck in life through good or bad fortunes or whatever. And in many cases, they've surrendered everything they got and they just want to forget about society, forget about everything else, and they just want to live on the street and not be bothered. These are the people that when you listen to their stories, they've either fought in wars, they've either, came from hardship to try and find a better life and it hasn't worked, like they've come here, they've married into it, got divorced, they got separated, and then they've been left all alone. It's not like they can go back home or wherever they used to call home because they won't be accepted, like they ran away from where they were. But I talk to so many homeless people, like, and the trick is if you don't just try to help, but you're sitting there and you just talk to them and just listen, most of them will tell you their story, you know. The rough sleepers really won't. The rough sleepers, like that's what I say to people: offer them food, don't give them money, because you're just creating a bad cause, And even the homeless people, very rare that a homeless person will actually accept any money off you, but they'll accept food, where, a lot of rough sleepers won't. People say they're both the same, but it was actually a homeless person that actually helped me, understand that there is a difference, like, yeah, a homeless person sleeps rough, but a homeless person just doesn't want nothing linked or associated with the home. They won't even accept most of the time, housing, like I try and get people to get, to get the help that they need. And on most occasions, they just say, please just leave me alone, well, a lot of times you can't leave them alone because when you get a combination of the two, normally the homeless people are usually a bit worse off because they get picked on by the rough sleepers who do have homes.
Incredible speaking to you, Carlos. I just can't pick your brain enough. I always love learning, what you've been up to. This is really a subject of behavioral science and understanding that I really have been indulging into the past few years. And some of the stuff you share about the problems we have in communities and differences between, the homeless and the rough sleepers is just really incredible that most people don't really know anything about. Carlos, I know we can talk on forever and it's getting late, but I do want to find out something. If you could share with us, some of our viewers, in case they want to get in contact with you and learn a little bit more about the work that you do, or reach out to you if possible. Is there any Instagram or Facebook or a way of contacting the council or knowing more about what sort of programs there are out there for the homeless or for the rough sleepers or anything? Would you be able to share any information about any of that?
Yeah, well, I'm on Facebook, and if people look up Carlos de Rocha, like it'll come up with just there's a picture of me and my wife, that are on the Facebook page, so it's easy to sort of find. you know, I think with my number, my number's open for all. So if they go through you and it's somebody that genuinely needs help, I trust you to give my mobile number out to people, that want to reach out. Look, the thing is with me, I want everyone to understand that everybody is unique. Everybody's an individual. Everybody matters, right? Life is not about, how successful you are. Like life is about the person that you are. And we've all got something to contribute in life. I want people to know that they're never alone. There is always someone out to reach out to. There is always some group that you can get involved with, whether it's a charity, whether it's, some animal care, like a shelter that you want to, be a part of, right? Take on a hobby, but just remember, right? The world needs you. The world needs us, right? Giving up should never be an option, right? I've had cross moments in my life, and I even told you once, Dad, myself, that I was in a real dark place. And because everyone thought, oh, how good's Carlos? He's so strong, I love talking to him because, he's so switched on. Well, none of us are ever totally switched on. All of us,
We have our moments. We all have our moments,
yeah, but I just want everyone to remember that you are never alone, right? Be part of your local community. Go to your local precinct meetings. Join your local longboard or surf group, that's around. Like I said, take on a hobby. Buy a bird, a dog, a cat. Something that you can, look after, and it's not.
Keep you company.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah. A
true.
company, anything.
Carlos, I've been working on something that I haven't spoken to you in the past, but I'll tell you tonight. I've been working on a man up program and a single mums program. I would love to work that with you, with the council, get some funding to it and allow people to come for free. Maybe we can get some grants and something to help pay for the facilitators and the practitioners that come on board and for some of the hard work that we do. But I would love to do it with someone like you. You wouldn't even need to be involved so much, but I would love to do that to offer single mums who've got financial problems an opportunity to get fit, lose weight, feel great about themselves, talk to them about behavioral science, empower them with confidence and improve their self-esteem so they can get back into the workforce, so they can get back to believing that they are special because every one of us is special and every one of us is capable of doing so much more than what we are doing. Carlos, it's been amazing talking to you tonight, and I know we're probably going to need to make another Zoom sometime later in the year and talk again. But before we go, I'm going to share this again with the viewers. As you all know, I love studying, and I've really spent the last few years indulging into behavioral science, and I've been reading a lot of books. And this book that I've just picked up is about hypnosis, and it's a comprehensive guide about hypnosis. And it was written by Ted James, the person who developed NLP, neuro linguistic programming. It's a great book, and what I love about it, it talks about your internal voice, your internal dialogue, and how you entertain that internal dialogue. Anyhow, I can go on talking about this book a lot, but if you get a chance and you are interested, pick up the book. It's called A Comprehensive Guide to Hypnosis, and it's been written by Ted James. Great to have you here, Carlos, and thank you everybody for joining us tonight. I'm going to love you and leave you, and don't forget that next week you will be joined with me, with our special guest, Michelle Katz, who's going to talk to us about the mindset to success. Have an amazing week. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Dad. Take care. Bye, everyone.